Hey everyone, my name's John. I'm a freelance photographer and videographer, and my goal with this YouTube channel is to help other creatives learn to storytell in the best way possible. Today we're going to be talking about framing and composing your shots. So jumping right into it, if there's one thing you take away from this video, hopefully it would be understanding the rule of thirds. You might have heard of it, but if you haven't, it can sound kind of intimidating, right? It literally has the big bold word rule in it. If you're just getting started, it can sound kind of intimidating, but don't worry because it's more of a guideline rather than a rule. What is it and why use it? Well, let's think about it. When we first look at a picture, a movie scene, a book page, whatever it is, we don't absorb all of that information all at once, right? We kind of scan to pick up clues of what's going on in that setting. So if you're the one behind the camera, by dividing the frame into thirds, you're able to get a pretty good starting point of where you want to place your point of interest. Most cameras, if not all of them, allow you to display this option somewhere in the menus, and even our phones are able to display this helpful tool. A part of our jobs as artists is to guide the story throughout the frame. We're literally in control of what's seen and what isn't, and that's a pretty powerful tool, so we want to use it to the best of our abilities. Something that can be used by filmmakers, photographers, and by other artists to drive a narrative is the breaking of rules, like the one that I've been talking about. In order to do that though, it's important to know what those rules are. That being said, I'd like to explain some concepts related to composing people. A couple terms to get familiar with are headroom and nose room. I find it pretty natural to want to compose your shot with someone's head right there in the center of the frame, especially with how great it makes your Instagram feed look when someone first glances at your page. Sometimes this technique works, but a majority of the time it just results in a lot of wasted space above the person's head, and if that space has no purpose, it results in bad composition. So keep that in mind next time you're shooting photo or video. I know when I first started shooting interviews, I might have added a little extra headroom and it just didn't make it look good. And same thing with taking photos, even if it's just for Instagram. Really try taking your time and playing with that composition to see what looks best for your shot. Moving on to nose room or looking room, a person's eyes has intensity, has weight, purpose, it has direction, right? So it's good to give it some room. When your subject is facing either the left or the right, try moving them to the other side of the frame for the appropriate composition. A few other tips for composing people are: 1, don't cut off their feet. Either cut off at their knees or include the feet because it can look kind of awkward when you cut them off at the ankle. Similar to the first tip, don't cut off their hands or their wrists. I know when trying to capture people, it's normal for people not to know what to do with their hands. They do this weird thing, right? Alien fingers and stuff like that. But paying attention to details like that while you're shooting will only make your work better. Now that the basics are covered, here are some other elements that you can use to spice up your shots. Lines. Lines can help lead a viewer's attention where you want and when you want. This could be done using roads, architecture, or other things that catch your eye. Symmetry. Another technique that you can use to draw attention to your subject is by using symmetry. So if you were to split that frame in half, is it balanced on both sides? And if it's not, it could be a stylistic choice. Really experiment to see what looks best for what you're shooting. Frame within a frame. You can draw attention to your subject by framing it with detail or clues that drive the story that you're trying to tell. Negative space. You can use this to really isolate your subject and define the edges. And lastly, we're going to be talking about angles. So I want to tell you a story. Once upon a time, I was in my first photography class and all of my shots were looking same, and honestly they were kind of boring, right? Whenever we went out to shoot something, for some reason they would all kind of look the same. And something that my teacher told me that really helped me break past that barrier and level up was to imagine the camera as a fly. Let me explain that for you. When you see a fly, it's not very predictable and it can change directions fast. It can bounce from the floor to the walls to the ceiling in a matter of seconds. So what I was able to take from that was to get creative with where I'm shooting from, and ultimately what you want to do is share a new way of looking at the world, right? Get low, get high, and try some overhead stuff. try it against the wall and just get creative with it. So I know that's a lot of info that we just went over, and I hope this motivates you to create rather than discourages you. Take what you learned today and use it to make your shots better. And if you're like me, I know it's super easy to do, but try not to get in your head too much to the point where it keeps you from creating. And I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. Thanks for checking out this video. I'm gonna try posting on Tuesdays now that I have a little bit more free time and I'm caught up on client work. If you found this video useful, give it a like. Let me know in the comments what you learned, or if there's anything that you think I missed. If you're just starting out with a camera, or if you just found this video useful, be sure to check out some of my other videos on related techniques, and please consider subscribing if you liked this video. I'll see you in the next one.